Okay, good afternoon again. So, we had looked at this sex determination part in brief, what we call as autosomes, what are called as sex chromosomes, and so on. Now, we will actually go into the process of sex determination, that how does it happens, that is the mechanism. So, there are various ways in which the sex determination in particular species happens. So first one, what we like, it was a very earlier form of sex determination, and it does happen with those some of the primitive species which are still existent. That is environmental sex determination due to certain environmental factors, like temperature is one of them. The sex will be determined of a particular individual. Second is non-chromosomal, that is without at such involvement of some these are the factors which will determine the sex. And then allosomic, that is like what we know of in human being the X and Y chromosome, that is the specific chromosome determining the gender. So we will see in that there are two subtypes. We'll see what are the subtypes. And then the last one is haplodiploid mechanism of the sex determination, where one of the gender will have haploid set and the other gender will have diploid set. And what are those mechanism? We'll see individually one by one. Just to add a note here, there is another very interesting article which is how to make a sex chromosome. How to make, as in it's not literally a recipe, but they are referring to the how the sex chromosome has evolved and how it is formed. So that this is the article. I guess this is from Nature Publishing Group also, so you can go through it and some references attached to it. Okay, so the first part of what we call as environmental sex determination is it happens mostly in the primitive animals, like I mentioned earlier. So these organisms, they are potentially hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite, I assume you would know the terminology by now, that is having both sexes, and they may function as male or female depending on their surrounding factors. So this does not mean they have male reproductive structure as well as female reproductive structure. Rather, they are just like a neutral bodies, and depending on the factors or stimulation of particular orientation, they will be either oriented towards male or towards female. So that particular organism is called as hermaphrodite. Now, Bonellia, this is one of the annelid species. Annelid, I hope you remember that ring-like structures are present uh, on their bodies. So it's like earthworm type of bodies, but they are more in the ring-like structure. So that is annelids, and one of such example of annelid is Bonellia. It develops into the female when settles down singly, that means in single, but on coming in contact with the grown up female. So it ideally grows up as female, but when it comes in contact with other female, it turns into the male. It enters the uterus and develops into a male. So that entering process into the uterus is like causing them to change into the male, and then the fertilization happens, and then so on. Like, so that way it is functional. So just for an example, here it is shown as the female Bonellia, which is grown up. Almost you can see the size. So that way you can figure out. And the male, they are like the produced later once the other female Bonellia, when they come in contact with this grown up female, this the like the smaller female Bonellia or younger female Bonellia, they will enter into the uterus of this female Bonellia which is grown up and will develop into a female. So this is more of a chemical coordination and the signaling mechanism. We need not go into that detail. This is just as an example that Bonellia in contact with the other grown up female, it turns into male when it enters into the uterus portion. So that much is good enough information. for now. And this one that is shown is the male. This is the grown up female. Now, something similar is what is one of the environmental factor, that is the temperature dependent sex determination. Now, based on certain temperature changes, it will cause what we know as changing of the gender. So it is found in most turtles and crocodiles, and this specific species called alligator snapping turtle. This is the scientific name, that is Macrochelis teminiki, right? So that is the name of this alligator snapping turtle. The picture is shown here on the top in the corner. So that is the alligator snapping turtle. It looks like a alligator skin, but it is a species of a turtle. Sex in that species, the sex is determined by the temperature during incubation, right? So whenever the young ones, they are like born, depending on their incubation temperature, the male or females will be developed. So at temperatures between 29 to 30 degrees, the eggs develop into female, that is the female generation. And but a little higher temperature, sorry, little lower temperature, that is 25 to 27 degree, only males are formed. So depending on what is the temperature present in the surrounding, the male or females will be born accordingly. So that is this environmental sex determination, or rather the environmental factors involved in the sex determination process. Any question here? I hope.
Sir,
Yes.
can humans be hermaphrodite?
Humans means, if you say it, if you take into consideration of the action of hormones, yes. Naturally, no. Right?
So, like there are like humans can be there that they can function as both male and female at the same time.
See, reproduction wise, you know it very well. Now we have studied the whole of the reproduction process. Until and unless there are changes in the structures, let's say specifically with respect to testis and ovary, if that is not being formed, you cannot call them hermaphrodite. Right? That is both sexes being present, which is rare of the case, and that too both needs to be functional. It's not just having
Yeah.
right? Having a penis structure in female, or just having uterus structure in male, or breast in male, that will not be hermaphrodite. That is just what we refer to those adrenal virilism like disorders, or some sexual no, not sexual, what we say, reproductive organ related disorders. Yeah, but that will not be hermaphrodite. Okay. Any other question? Anyone?
Sir, I didn't understand the Bonellia thing.
So see, this is like a chemical coordination. It's like when the young female comes into contact with a grown-up female, it will allow the entry of that younger female into the grown-up female's uterus. That's where I'm sure there must be some chemicals in the sense of the hormonal actions. That's what I would call as chemicals, and because of that, it leads to the changes in the gender. So this is like these species, they do not have X and Y chromosome. They have only one chromosome, and they develop only into one organism, right? They do not differentiate according to gender, like how we are, or how the animals are, most of the animals are, right? Because we have a separate chromosome which determines the gender. These animals, they don't have those separate chromosomes. They have only certain number of chromosomes, which does not really determine the gender. So that only those chromosomal set only determines the how the structure of the organism and the function of the different things within that body should be. Now, if that is the case for male and female, it will be all same. So depending on certain stimulating signals, they can turn into male or female, and that is what is happening in the Bonellia.
So the offspring will develop along with the male.
Offspring will develop along with the male. No.
Yeah, because both of them are in the same place.
Yeah, but then offspring will be developed after the males are matured.
Yeah, but the male will be there.
Place, yes. Males usually they depart from the female bodies. So they will deposit. I don't know how this reproduction happens in Bonellia, honestly, but I would suppose there must be some like no, but if that is non-sexual, it's not completely non-sexual as such. But I would simply assume that just deposition of certain cells within the uterus should work to let grow of the new offsprings.
Also, like if a person is a hermaphrodite, so they can like deposit their own sperm into their uterus, and a clone will be born. Yes.
Yeah. So, Miss, there was a recent news. I don't know how true it is, but a guy who was pregnant, like a proper human male. That means he had all the sexual organs and the development like a male, but he conceived a baby. Now, how and what that I don't know, but I just remember to have read such news.
So like I don't know if it's true or not, but these guys are saying that 1.7% of the human population is hermaphrodite.
I don't.
That's like 1 in every 50 people.
But how is that possible? Why would the human population need to be hermaphrodite?
Yeah, doesn't sound true.
Where are you reading this? Like some
Intersex campaign for equality. It's something like that.
I would assume it's
Oh no. Yeah. It's not scientific, sir.
exactly. I would simply assume it non-scientific. If any journal or article reports this, then I would assume that there is some like truth behind it for sure. Okay, I guess we will move forward. So that is the environmental sex determination. That was the first type of sex determination. Now, second one, that is non-allosomic sex determination, or it is also called as non-chromosomal sex determination. Now, in this, like for example, in some of the bacteria, it happens, which is not actually the involvement of chromosomes, rather it is more of certain factors. So in again some of the primitive forms, sex chromosomes, they are not found, like bacteria and viruses and so on. The sex determining factor or the gene is located in on an autosome. So there is a small segment of their genetic material which dictates a particular male or female category. And again, they need not even have any differences in terms of their obviously that is a sexual mode of reproduction. So they surely do not have any sexual organ. Obviously, you know this bacteria, they are very simplistic prokaryotic structures. So for example, the sex factor or the fertility factor in bacteria is located on F plasmid. So there is a plasmid on which there is this F factor or sex factor or fertility factor present on that plasmid, and the bacterial cells with the fertility factor, they behave as a male. You, the more emphasis is behave as a male. That means they are not like male or female separate as such. Just because they have this F plasmid, they behave as a male and they donate like the genetic material to the other cell, and the ones without F factor, they behave as female or recipient cell, which will take the genetic material from this F plasmid. So that process is conjugation. Like one bacterial plasmid will duplicate its genetic material, will transfer it to the another cell, then it will separate, and that way they keep on dividing. It's like a kind of I shouldn't say mitotic division, but yeah, in mitosis, how the duplication of chromosome happens, and then the two daughter cells separate, something like binary fission that you have already studied. So that kind of mechanism happens after this donation of the plasmid to the female or recipient cell, and that factor is present on the plasmid of these cells.
Also, like in bacteria, plasmid is not part of the chromosome, right?
Plasmid is not part of the genetic material, it is part of the separate or extra.
So yeah, so why do they call it like how is it related like in autosomes then? Like the gene is not located in autosomes, right? It's located in the plasmid. Like the second line it says
The sex determining factor. So in some cases, what happens is there is integration of these like genetic material with extra genetic material. So that is why that statement. Otherwise, usually in most of the bacteria, you will find plasmid separately. But during duplication stage, usually the plasmid they get merged with the what we say genetic material. So there is this very interesting phenomena called as multi-drug resistance that is occurring because of the F plasmid, because usually the plasmids are not the one which get transmitted, rather it is the genetic material which is getting transmitted to the daughter cell. Now what happens is, let's say a particular species of bacteria has developed resistance against an antibiotic, then that will be stored in the plasmid. But then because it becomes an extra genetic factor there, and when that bacteria goes and comes in contact with other species of the bacteria which are of the same biological nature, they usually transfer this extra genetic material when it merges with the genetic material, and then that will be transferred to the daughter cell and so on. So that way it is like that way also it is like non-chromosomal or non-allosomic, but then it does take part in the certain like decision of that bacteria what should happen with the next species. So this is also something similar, that is sex factor or fertility factor. Okay. Then another example that is given here is Clavidomonas, that is another species. The genes for the plus and negative or the positive and negative strands, they are present on the autosomes. Now autosomes, because they are not sex chromosome, that's why everything is called as autosome there, right? Because that's something like genetic material. And the positive and negative strand, that refers to the strand which will specifically designate the gender. I don't know which strand is which one, but in Chlamydomonas that is the case. Then in maize, that is the plant, the development of the male and female inflorescence is controlled by the genes present on the autosomes, and that is also non-chromosomal or non-allosomic sex determination. So this is only with respect to the inflorescence. Rest everything will be still controlled by the other genes, which are again other autosomes. But this particular all these species, they do not have specific sex chromosome, and that is why it is called as non-chromosomal or non-allosomic sex determination process.
Sir,
Yes,
so inflorescence is only the flower arrangement, right?
correct.
So like the actual gender of male and female in maize plant is controlled by chromosomal only.
So yes, in a way, but like if you know, in maize there is a very typical arrangement. I don't know if I have diagram. No, I
So,
don't.
but like if the arrangement is not there on the sex chromosome, then why are they kind of relating it to the like male or female? Like it's completely independent, right? The inflorescence, like independent to the sex chromosome.
These are not completely determining the gender. These are assisting in gender formation. Yeah. So that way also it is very important. It's like, you know, like again a very hypothetical example I would say, is if it's like if a person has a testis, that means it's a male, right? But it doesn't have penis structure itself, right? It's like, and the structure of penis is kind of dictated by some additional chromosome, which is not totally determining the gamete formation, that is the sperm formation. It's something like that. So in maize, you know, the fruit, right? It has certain string like structures at the on the top, and that I guess that was the female reproductive structures, and the male flowers, they are separately present on the plant. So that way the arrangement or the inflorescence is also very important, because ultimately that will give rise to the fertilization, and that will determine which gender and what has to happen. So those particular factors, they are equally important in determining the gender or the sex of that particular plant or flower. So that is what is the condition being explained here.
So like if what you said happens, like if a person has like a, like a testicular tissue but doesn't have a penis, then is it a male or not?
It is a male.
So you only need to have the
It won't be
testicles,
able to reproduce on its own. It will need assistance.
but it's still classified as a male.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, that was a hypothetical situation I gave you. I mean, those kind of people, I'm sure they must be existing as a congenital abnormality, but that was still a hypothetical case. Okay, so that is non-allosomic or non-chromosomal sex determination. Next one, and most important one, is your allosomic or chromosomal sex determination. That means these type of sex determination, they are happening with certain chromosomes. That is like what we know in human is that X and Y set of chromosomes. So in majority of the animals, there is a pair of sex chromosome. It can be called as X and Y, or in some it is also called as W and Z, and they are associated with the sex determination process. And that's why they are also called as allosomes or idiochromosomes. Yeah. So that is just the alternate terminologies for the sex chromosomes. Now, in such cases, one sex is heterogametic. Heterogametic means it produces two different gametes. That is, let's say, for example, when a male produces sperm, it will have half of the sperms with X chromosome and half of the sperms with Y chromosome. So that is what is heterogametic. One individual producing two different gamete. That is heterogametic. And it so they produce two types of gametes in equal proportion, and the other sex is homogametic, like female in human, that will produce only one type of gamete. Though a female has two X chromosome, the type of gamete that it will produce is only one type, because both of them will have XX, so any X is going to be same. So that way all the gametes or all the X which will be formed, they will be all same, that is X with 22 chromosomes. So that is homogametic, that means same, only one type of gamete. Now, this will be true when we think in terms of male heterogamy or female heterogamy. That means either a male being heterogamatic or the female being heterogamatic. And then there are several such possibilities. So first we are going to look at the male heterogamy, and this is the example, that is XX or XY type of sex determination. Now in mammals, including man, or in the Drosophila, sex is determined by the presence of X and Y chromosome. X chromosome possesses female determining genes. Y chromosome carries male determining gene. And that way, now let's assume the female is homogamatic. Again, I assume you would remember the meaning of this. Homo means same, gametic means producing the same gamete. So it will have autosomes, that is AA, that in human it will be what? This will be 44 plus XX. So female will be homogamatic with AA plus XX, and all the X will have only one type of chromosome, that is autosomes 22 plus the X chromosome, that is 23 total. I hope you are following this. Yeah. So that is home. Yeah.
So what if a person has YY? Will it still be a male? I mean, well,
Where
will
will
it still look like a male?
where will the other Y come from, Patham? There is only one Y, no, in any combination.
But it can be a like mess up also, right? Like some defect.
Until and unless it's artificial or
So since Y is male determining chromosome, if it has two Y, then it should like the body feature should be male, right?
so means there are certain what we call as triploidy, right? Three sets of chromosome. It can be XXY, it can be XYY, right? So that does exist otherwise, but the viability of such individuals is very less. It can never be just YY, because then the it's like then it has not even fertilized with that X, the gamete with X chromosome. Are you getting my point?
Well, yes, sir.
Means theoretically you are right. There is a possibility, let's assume that the fusion with X and Y had happened and the X chromosome somehow disappears and the another copy of Y takes over it by duplication or whatsoever mechanism.
So, but why can't it be only YY?
Where will the other Y come from? You tell me.
So, like,
So
you gave an example that some person gave birth, a man gave birth, right? So that man had Y, and the other person, you need a sperm, right? And that
No,
also has
I actually searched that thing just now. It wasn't a man, it was a transgender female.
transgender female, no.
They identified as male, but it was female originally.
Oh, so socially and biologically it was a bit different. So that's the confusion.
Oh, yeah, maybe. But see, means either ways, the sperm cannot fuse with another sperm. Otherwise, there will be so many children with the male itself.
Oh, yeah, sir. Like it says that, so it says it's called the Jacob syndrome. Like what you said, X by Y, like 1X, 2Y, or double Y, and no X. And it says that it happens in 1 out of every 1,000 males.
But then if you also check for the survival rate of those individuals, which will be very, very less than 1% for sure, or maybe 0.1% also.
Like why won't they survive, sir?
Because it's triploid in nature, no? It's like you imagine you have 3 copies of gene. If the 2 copies itself they are interfering with each other in terms of their function, the 3rd copy will surely interfere in the function, no?
So it says that like for the most part, people with like X by Y chromosome live typical life. Some may be taller or have some speech defects or small learning difficulties. That's all.
Yeah, so it totally depends on what set of chromosomes are being carried, right? That ultimately will decide the survival rate. Now let's assume all the dominant traits are coming with that. Means not all always, but then most of the dominant traits are coming with that additional Y copy of chromosome. Then you imagine the situation, right? The survival rate will be, I guess, very less, almost to zero.
Like, how does the dominant affect it, sir?
So if the chromosome is dominant, that means that copy will always get expressed, right?
Yes.
Compared to other two, like which is normal, we will assume, and this additional copy will also express its protein. If it is expressing its protein, that means it's going to interfere with each and every part.
So, like, if like there are two Ys and one X, if one Y is dominant, so like if one Y is dominant and the other Y has recessive ones,
then
the dominant Y will work. Even if both of them are dominant, then like if you have two dominant alleles, like you get the dominant effect, right? So then also, if both are capital Y, then you will get the same dominant effect.
correct, that is true, that is totally true. But then it also depends on what functions are these gene dictating, right? That will, so suppose if it is the gene which is controlling the cell division process, right? That will ultimately lead to both, or rather all three being dominant genes. It will lead to uncontrolled cell division because that protein is getting expressed more and more. Then the cell division process is happening more and more. So ultimately it's a weird development. So like depending on what context we are putting into, there is equal chance depending on what is the possibility, but still the survival rate with triploidy in human is very less because human system is very complex. Had it been some simpler organism with triploidy, chances of them living is still better.
So you said that body has all sorts of backup systems. So after it gets fertilized, it'll either be killed, or after implantation also it can be killed.
No, I didn't get this point. What is it?
You said the body has many backup systems. So if there is a triploid, this thing, what do you call it? Zygote?
A triploid zygote.
Yeah, if there's a triploid zygote formed, then the body will immediately take care of it, right?
No, because that is the so to remove a particular copy of chromosome, it is very difficult until
No,
a
it won't remove the copy of the chromosome. It'll kill it. It'll kill the whole cell.
whole cell getting killed. That means the zygote will not develop.
Yeah. So I don't understand how it's possible to have a triploid human being or any creature.
No,
Okay, maybe the small ones, their backup systems are not so well this thing.
triploid zygote will have nothing different than diploid zygote except that one set of chromosome being extra, right? Until and unless it comes to the expression pattern on the cell, then only it will be recognized as something weird or something
No, but the
abnormal.
expression pattern will be same as always, right? Because let's say there are two dominant and one recessive, or three dominant. The dominant gene will be expressed.
Okay, now I need to go a little bit into the molecular mechanisms as well. So what happens is, let's say a particular protein, when it is which is directly the effect of expression of a gene, then only that protein is synthesized. If it is produced to certain amount, then the cell consider it as a normal signal. If it is less, surely that's an abnormal signal. If it is more, that is also an abnormal signal. So this is like a chain of events. Depending on what that extra copy of gene is causing, that change will trigger certain events. Body will have backup mechanism for sure, but then it will lead to the cyclic events. One change is happening, then the other change will show effect, and then this will keep on going. So that way, it is not as simple as we assume that it's just the simple expression of dominant and recessive. it is also, that's when we had once even mentioned somewhere, that's multiple allele thing. It's quantitative as well. Expression of the genes in multiple alleles was quantitative, right? So that is what is true in most of the cases as well. So that way it will surely affect, because it is going to change the quantity of particular genetic expression.
Yes, sir. So that's what I was saying. So either the body will have some backup mechanism to take care of it, basically kill it, or it will be very common. It will be normal.
But then it will also have another developmental issue. Either it will kill it or it will allow to develop as normal as it. But the third option or third possibility there is, it will allow to develop the organism only up to 12 years or 13 years of the age, or like complete life with some deformity in the body. So there are several possible options, depends on.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. But it should be like very rare then, right? It will be normal because the offspring will survive.
No, more chances offspring will not survive because that is not natural.
Sir, it says the life expectancy is like it's less than the normal person.
Of course,
It so it says it's 67.5.
with triploid individuals.
Yeah, but for normal it's more like 77.9. I don't know relative to what they are saying. Maybe to a particular experiment they carried out,
Yeah,
but it's less than normal. It's like 10 or 15 years less than normal.
okay. So let's stop it there. We will continue with this part. So I hope you understood this. What is male heterogamy? That means a male is having two different set of gametes that it produces. So a male in this XX XY type of sex determination is heterogametic. That means it will produce two sets of autosomes. It will have two sets of autosomes with X and Y chromosome. That is what is going to give rise to the heterogametic sperms. So it produces two types of sperms. The autosomes with X, that is called as gynosperms, and the autosomes with Y, that is 22 sets of autosome plus Y, it's called as androsperms, and the condition is called as male digamety. Digamety is two types of gametes, so male digamety or male heterogamety. So that is the XX XY type of sex determination. Again, this is the chart. I guess this you would easily recognize how it is being done. So these are the chromosomes present with female, chromosomes present with the male. Then what you get as a gamete is similar type of gamete. So that is why it is homogametic. Here what you get is A plus X and A plus Y, heterogametic, and the offspring possibility after fusion is half female and half per, that 50% male can be formed, and the chances there that 50% females can be formed. So that is how the sex is determined in this male heterogamy cases. Now,
So in the animal kingdom, are there only like two sexes or can there be more?
there are only two sexes. There is no third sex. Means there is that what we call transgender or what are
No, sir, with gametes. So let's just suppose that a species naturally has XY in both male and female. Or so there are three possibilities there. Like XX, YY, and XY. So three different genders.
I mean, at least I don't know of any such species.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the male heterogamy. Now, within the same male heterogamy type, there is something called as XXXO. O. Instead of Y, what you have is O. That means no chromosome, right? Or it's a different set of chromosome, but it is not the sex determining chromosome. Yeah, but rather the copies of this, we will get more clarity here. So it is mainly found in insects. Now what is the case here is male will have only one copy of X chromosome, and the females will have only not only females will have two copies of X chromosome. So these will produce this is not the sex determining chromosome, that is why it is labeled as O. So it will be A plus X and A plus O, and A plus X and A plus X. Both are again homogametic female, heterogametic male. Now what happens is, in case of female, they will be always produced if the both X are combined. Now in male, because there is still only one copy of X and O is non-sex determining chromosome, because of only one copy of the what we say the chromosome, this will be identified as male, and this is what is found in the insect. But so that is XXXO type of sex determination in the male heterogamy. That means male will produce two different sets of gametes. Is this clear, or any question here? So this is something similar. Instead of Y, which was the sex determining region, especially for male, here Y is not there, it is O, and only half, not half set, there is another chromosome which is not the sex determining one, but based on whether one copy of chromosome is present or two copies of the chromosome are present, the male and females will be decided. So that is XXXO type of sex determination in male heterogamy. Then we have now female heterogamy. Now instead of male producing two gametes, in some of these species there are females which produces two different gametes. And the example here is the butterflies, moths, fishes, reptiles, all of these, they produce this ZZ, ZW type of sex determination. Their sex chromosomes, they are either ZZ or ZW. That means they have Z and W chromosomes. So male is homogametic, and homomorphic sex chromosome, that is similar sex chromosome, they will be ZZ, that is male. In the male heterogamy, the female had similar chromosome. In case of female heterogamy, male is having sex chromosome. It's just the opposite. Yeah, so it just depending on, so that means in this case the gender will be decided by this presence of W, but that gender will be female. In case of human, the gender was decided by Y, and that was male. So this way it's just the exactly opposite way, and the letters, the denominations have been changed. So male is homogametic, and homomorphic sex chromosome will have homomorphic sex chromosome, that is ZZ, and its chromosomal composition will be AA plus ZZ, that is again some number of autosomes in pair, and the sex chromosome, that is ZZ, and it will produce only one type of gamete, which is male gamete here, and it is A plus Z. Now in other case, that is the female is heterogametic, because we are looking at the female heterogamy. So female will produce two gametes because the female has the chromosomal composition of autosomes plus ZW. So the eggs or the gametes which will be produced by the female will be A plus Z and A plus W. So that is one type of sex determination in the female heterogamy, and it is called as ZZ-ZW type of sex determination. That is again shown here. Same, male will have AA and ZZ homogametic, female AA plus ZW heterogametic, because it will produce two different gametes. Male will produce one gamete. Again 50% chance of making male, 50% chance of making female, and the gamete fusion will happen. So that's what is the female heterogamy in one type. The other type of female heterogamy is again that ZZ-ZO. Now instead of W, which was the sex determining chromosome, here it is only half presence of Z will determine it as a male or female. So again, here it is female heterogamy. That means heterogamous gamete formation has to happen with the female. So male moth, for example, again the example here is butterflies and moth, and females, they have one chromosome less than those of male. So that is O chromosome. O chromosome, that means it does not exist as such. That is one less chromosome. So the male moths, they are homogametic, and chromosomes will be A, that is autosomes, and ZZ. This number can be depending on which species are we talking about. In human, this is 22 plus 22. That is, here it will be 44. So, but moth, we don't know. At least I don't know the number of chromosomes. So that's why it is AA for the time being. And it will only produce one gamete, that is A plus Z. Female being heterogametic, it can either produce A plus Z or A plus O as a gamete. And that is what is being shown here. Again, male homogametic, one type of gamete. Female heterogametic will produce two types of gamete. Again, based on the chances, there will be like the formation of a particular gamete. Yeah. Now, in this case, if you specifically look, it's all AA. No, sorry, not all. Three of them, they are AAZZ. That is autosomes with your sex chromosome, and this one will be female. Rest all will be males. Okay, I guess we can stop here. In the next class, we will talk of the haplodiploid mechanism. This is another interesting mechanism and the last type of sex determination part. So in this, just to give you a brief, half set of chromosome will give rise to one of the gender, and the rest half, like having a complete set, that is a pair set of chromosome, will give rise to another gender. And also I must mention that I have put few topics here for self-study. And the reason why I have put this for self-study, because we have already done a lot of discussion around this. For example, sex determination in Drosophila, which we had already seen in that allelic interaction and so on. And plus it is very simpler. Genic balance theory based on number of chromosome and the ratio. This theory was designed. Again, it was based on Drosophila, so that you can like easily figure it out. Sex determination in man or in human, this we have been studying since class 10th. So that is also being done quite often. So I will not revise or not even explore this in the class. Single gene sex determination in man, that is what is your X or Y chromosome sex determination. Again, it refers to the sex determination, but there are just few separate points. How is the single gene determines the sex? And the sex linked inheritance. Again, with respect to Drosophila, we have seen enough examples. Yeah. So these are ultimately talking of the same, and even these diagrams, what we just saw, this is same for most of the cases. Just you have to be a little careful about which one is heterogametic, whether male is heterogametic or whether female is heterogametic, and then based on you go forward with these permutation combinations. So that's why I have put this for self-study. So ideally, you don't really have to do anything. You just go over this topic. If at all you have any problem with any of these, then you talk, then we can discuss them in the class. But in the next class, we'll talk of this haplodiploid mechanism. Yes.
So, like, does the X chromosome do a function inside the male body? Like a major one?
Yes, there are quite a few chromosomes. So that part, that is what we are yet to discuss. And I said that will come in the sex determination. I will talk about that separately
Okay.
in a bit, like after these few slides. And the next topic is variation, which is relatively simpler. So we are almost at the end of this chapter. So let's see how it goes further. Yeah. As of now, I will stop here. Oh, where Mansi and these people, they have disappeared or maybe disconnected.